Hello, 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 amazing hackers at Global Hack Week. Welcome to another live stream. Uh, let me know where you're actually watching this stream from. I am actually super excited for another community conversation. Community conversation is something which is actually being loved at a lot of Global Hack Week streams, and this time, because we are into the AI/ML week, we have a special guest from the field of ML. And I guess I just had light issue because there is no light in my area apparently just now, but that is not going to stop us from concluding the stream. So till then, let me know where you are from, and I'm just going to see. I'm going to add our speaker in next 2 minutes, I'll see. And till the time, we are gonna wait for hackers to join in. uh, if I guess, please, there can be issues from my side regarding uh, I guess internet. If there is an issue, let me know. Okay, Akash is from New Delhi, India. Hi Akash. Only Akshaj, if that's the right name. And just we are gonna wait for more and more folks to hop in, and then we are gonna start. And if you feel any type of internet issue from my side, just let me know that. I'll be happy to clear that. um, Apart from that, we look good to go. Okay, so I guess I can see more and more folks hopping in. You can just hop in, write hi in the chat, let me know where you are from, and just a second. So this Global Hack Weeks, we aim to bring up a community conversation around AI ML. I know there are lots of students who are actually want to make their like career in AI ML, but they don't know about the basics, the current advancements, or the reinforcements which you should know in machine learning. So for that, we have our speaker for today, Tanya Mehta. I hope he will be ready. So we'll just have him on the stream. I guess he is. Hi
Hi,
Tanya, welcome to the stream.
hi everyone. Hi Vinayak. Thanks for having me.
Great, great, great. I hope I am clearly audible and visible
Yep. You are.
because the light in my ear just went off, so it's a little scary now. But I hope the stream will go smoothly. So I'll just let you know something about Tane Mehta. Tane has recently graduated, and he's currently working at Skill Day. I hope that's the correct name. And he is also a Skill Grandmaster, and he is also an ex-applied research intern at NVIDIA. So welcome Tane to the stream.
Vinayak, your internet is,
Okay,
I
my
think,
side is lagging.
lagging.
Just give me a moment. If I can just, is it okay now?
No, it's still stuck. Your
Or
video
is
is still
there
stuck.
us? Okay, just give me a second. I'm so sorry for this delay. Just a second. Is the video clear now, Tane?
I think your video is still stuck from on my side. Your voice is clear, but your video is stuck.
Uh, I don't know. I can see. I guess yes, there is an internet issue. I can clearly see on the StreamYard. Apparently, it's just because of net.
You can try to
Okay. I
lower
guess if
the definition in the camera resolution. Maybe that will help you.
yep, that can make help.
Okay,
Just a second.
now it's working. Yeah, now your video is working.
Now my video is good. Are we good to go?
Yes.
I'm so
Yes.
I'm so sorry for this. Just the light issues. Okay. To start with, Tane, I have just given a short introduction about Tane. Uh, walk us through the current advancements and the trends in machine learning. What you are seeing. You have graduated. Now you're working for a company. So how it has that been?
Your I think your audio disappeared. Can you say something?
Oh, just give me 2 minutes. Let me change the location for the internet and the net.
Sure.
Just give me 2 minutes. I'm so sorry for this.
Yeah.
Is there any betterment, Tane?
Your video is still stuck from my side.
Uh, yep, I guess then light is back. The internet will be back shortly. Just a
Yeah, sure,
second.
sure.
I'm so sorry, folks, to all the one who are at the stream. Just a little light issue. I guess it will be sorted. Okay, I guess things will be good now, Tane.
Yeah, they are smooth, smoother than ever.
Okay, I'm really sorry to all the folks who have joined in. I guess I missed out on a lot. So to start with, just a
No problem. It happens to the best of us.
back. I'm so sorry. Okay. We are finally back. I guess Tane. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Might be the awkward most moment to start and stream. But yep, to again go with, I welcome Tane. He creates some cool ML stuff at Cerebrate AI. He is a Kaggle grandmaster and also an applied research intern at NVIDIA X, and he is an ML open source contributor. Welcome Tane to the stream.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Vinayak, for having me.
Okay, to start with the first question once again, what do you think are currently the current advancements and the trends in machine learning?
Right. So I guess that's a very open question because this field is so trending and so much like so fluid, changing so rapidly that if I say something right now, 1 week later, someone can sue me that it's wrong information because it's changing so fast. But in general terms, I think this year has been or a large part of the late 22 and so far in 23 has been more towards the text-based models, especially GPT, Chat GPT. You all might have heard of it. So we are seeing a lot of improvements in especially the LLMs or large language models. So like GPT or Chat GPT that can generate text, talk to you like a human and all. So one of the very cool and exciting thing is LLMs. The other thing in the so that was the text part, right? And the other thing in the image part is the stable diffusion and image generation that came out like last year. So these are I would like to think of them as more of the PR based pillars in the advances because most people are giving attention to either one of them or both of them. So yeah, the latest advancements in general on from like a 10,000 feet view is GPT, large language models, and diffusion based models for generating images and whatnot.
So, a term you have used in your answer is Chat GPT, right? A lot of folks have been using Chat GPT. I guess Chat GPT is the first platform to reach to 100 million users the fastest. So, apparently, so what do you think? Like, what are the major changes you are seeing after the introduction of Chat GPT, and also how ML is actually making a large contribution to it?
So there has been a lot of changes. So there is one thing that is very prevalent in non-ML developers out there, like people who are doing ML or doing ML research or applied machine learning are kind of aware with it, but most normal public non-ML developers are not, which is that everything that ChatGPT is offering you right now was already present in GPT-3 for the last 2 years. People just didn't know how to like work with it properly. So, and that's said by, these are not my words, by the way. These are the words of Sam Altman, who is the co-founder of OpenAI, the parent company of like who made ChatGPT. So the key thing here is that Chat GPT is like GPT-3, but it's trained more. It's fine-tuned on one of the GPT-3s, and it's trained to produce more human-like output. So you can converse with Chat GPT. You can't converse with GPT-3, which has been here for some time. So how it has, and so this very specific ability of conversing easily with the users have made sure that it's well received to even the like non-technical people and non-ML developers and even non-development people who have zero idea about that. So like a physics graduate or maybe like a commerce student can work with ChatGPT and help, like take its help. Now, when it comes to making your life easier, I guess ChatGPT has a lot of contribution, especially for developers, in the sense that they can easily interact with the ChatGPT for starters, but they can also ask it to generate code. And so, since we are at MLH, I assume a lot of people, I think most of the people will be they are experienced in some programming language, right? So, and this is what I have done too. So, if I'm coding and I have some task, some specific thing to complete in a very short amount of time, and I'm like, okay, I need to get this done. I don't have time to think through it, right? I don't have time to implement uh, I don't know, a binary search procedure or something like that, right? So I will just ask ChatGPT to do it, and it can do it very reliably. So in this matter, it has made the life way easier, that even though the ChatGPT won't give you a right output to any of your coding problem, it will give you at least a good direction, right? And this is one of the things that I've personally done. So I don't ever ask ChatGPT to generate code for me. It's very stupid because it's like a big dictionary. ChatGPT is like a big hash map, and with billions of trillions of things. So you don't do that. Instead, you can ask it to give you directions. Like, hey, I have this problem. Give me how directions on how to solve it using Python, and it will give you directions, which is like pretty close to the point. So this is one of the things. And I think ML, of course, ChatGPT is a machine learning based model, uses deep learning, so it is all ML at the bottom of it. But I think for the first time in a very long time, people are seeing how ML can actually affect, and by people I mean non-machine learning based developers too, who have nothing to do with machine learning. So, example, a blockchain developer or I don't know, a Web 2 developer is also seeing how machine learning can help him or her in doing their basic tasks.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. But one more question, like which arises in my mind. You say people, I guess there might be developers who might be asking codes from Chat GPT, and in the upcoming times, like if like Chat GPT, like what do you think can ever be Chat GPT able to replace the human mind? Like because it's able to create, like when I even communicate with Chat GPT, I can see a lot of good answers that even some of my friends can't give for a particular opinion or a particular question. So down the line, I guess might be some 30-40 years later, when there can be more advancements in such programming languages or such models, can it ever be a replacement? Because a lot of people might think, okay, can Chat GPT take our jobs? So what's your take on that?
So, so the thing is, I think this whole general topic is like far beyond my expertise, like far above my expertise or anyone's expertise, because it's so the question you're asking and the question that many people have in mind, just like yours, even mine, is that it's predicting the future, in other words, right? And I'm not sure if Chat GPT, especially Chat GPT, is going to be the one who replaces us somewhere down the line. But I see the problem is that the way human technology advances, and I'm speaking on a very broad term, is exponentially. So we don't go linear when we talk about, how the technology advances through decades. So like, I think the first flight by Wright brothers was done in 1911, if I'm not wrong. And 100 years later, in fact less than 100 years later, we were on the moon. So like, even in that very century, so you can understand the technological advancements are exponential. So it's very hard, I think it's close to impossible to even predict what turn the language models. Only the language models will take maybe like 1 year on, because there was a very interesting paper that came yesterday, or like a few days ago, which says that GPT-3 might have spontaneously learned the theory of mind, which is like kind of, understanding stuff like empathy and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. I was reading that paper because GPT automatically figured out things that a 9 year old, like up to a 9 year old's, mental capacity. But I think it won't really replace humans, not in the foreseeable future, because and people who are doing ML and who have worked with GPT on a more technical level will have noticed this, that these models are very good in talking, and that's the thing. We are fooled, or non-technical people are mostly fooled by their, bravado, based on how good these models talk to us. But they are trained to talk to us, right? Chat GPT is especially trained to converse with us very, very well. But that does not mean that its abilities are like a human. So like, it's like a robot that can speak in a perfect accent and in perfect English, with human emotions, like no, maybe. But that doesn't mean that it's like a human, right? You get my point. So this is the main problem. So I think we still have quite a bit of time before we go extinct. So I think we can like all sip our coffee without a problem.
I guess one of the most prominent answer for such question. Uh, like, uh, I really wanted to ask, like, you might have gone through tons of case studies for ML models. You might have even seen in your own surrounding environment one case study or ML model which you find amazing, and I guess a lot of people don't know about, which you want to share with the audience. And
So
just before we move on, if you have any questions from Tane, you can just write them at the chat. We will take it after answering a question. Yep, Tane.
right. So about this interesting case study. So I know like a lot of awesome projects and all that, but there is one thing that I learned, which I think a lot of people watching the stream will be able to resonate a lot. Like, they will be able to understand the awe of it. Is it's also related to GPT. So as you know, GPT can also generate code, right? Or any language model, not just GPT. So there are many large language models. There is OPT by Facebook, there is Flan by Google, there is Palm by Google, and there are like a tons of different models like that, not just GPT. But whenever I say GPT for the sake of like simplicity, I mean all LLMs, right? Large language models. So there is this very interesting project that I think got the first place in a very recent Scale AI hackathon that happened, I think, in December. And it's very interesting because so what it did was that, like, you might have heard, or like people who are doing ML would have heard of this thing, that SQL to text to SQL, right? So you give a model a text like, get me the first 500 rows where age equals 21, and that model will convert it into SQL queries, SQL queries, right? So if you know, or if you understand like something about it, then you will be able to understand this much easily. Is that there was a Scale AI hackathon, and the first team made something like large language models as backend. So like, you know how you make a Flask backend, or whatever backend you make in Python, or you use Express in JavaScript with Node.js. So there are specific routes, right? So you have a slash index, you have a slash about us, and everything. And you can give specific queries to a backend route, and it will give you whatever the answer you have. So if you do a query to get data from a database, it will fetch it. But it's all programmatical, right? Like, let's say you have three routes defined in your file, in your index.js or whatever file you call it. And if you try to give a query to a fourth completely different route, it will give you a 404 error or something like not found. This person or this group of person, I'm not it's a shame I don't know their names exactly right now back of my head, but what they did was they did some prompt engineering, which is which is a fancy way of saying that they condition GPT with some predefined, tasks and words, and this way they deployed a GPT, or I'm not sure which model was it, as a backend. So every time you and they deployed it as a server. So every time you do some request on some, like let's say localhost port 8000 slash I want a coffee, and this is like just me saying, this is not the exact one, but this is like me telling you to give the idea across the table. So they do localhost port 8000 slash I want a coffee. It will automatically dynamically load a page with all the coffee recommendations, or the good coffee recommendations. And you see how it just took the meaning of dynamic programming to a very different level. It's not dynamic programming, but this is the first word that comes to my mind. So this was a very interesting use case, which is using a language model as a backend. And that team won, I think, the first prize in Scale AI hackathon, if I'm not wrong. And it really blew my mind because the entire source code was like 100 or maybe less than 100 lines of code, and they were using GPT API, like OpenAI's API, to talk to GPT. And it's not very reliable, but one of the ideas that this gave to me, and this is what Ellie, my company's CEO, also wrote a lot about, was what if, like, not what if, but in the future, large language models can be used as abstraction layers in computer architecture. So you can emulate an entire computer inside a GPT, and people have done this. People have made virtual machines inside GPT. So I think this is like a very Inception themed thing to think about.
uh, I guess there were a lot of terms which I guess might be new for me and a lot of audience, but that is definitely something which I've heard for the first time, and that's unique too. I guess hackathons are becoming a good way to get the best out of new hackers who are entering in this domain. So yep, I guess we do have some questions. I guess we can take it as we soon as we move into the stream. Okay, I guess that this is one. Do you have a link or know where to access this paper on Chat GPT learning about the theory of mind?
Yeah, I think I have it. I guess I'll send it to
If you can
you.
just share in the chat, I'll share with the audience through MLS socials.
Let's see. Let me see. I'm not sure if I have it. Yeah. Yeah, I have the link. Let me send it to you. Here
Yep,
we go. This is the paper.
great. Okay, I'll just take a moment and I'll share that into the chat. Uh, so one more question is, Brad from Google will sure a replacement for GPT. It has tons of trained model than Chat GPT. Hmm.
I mean, it's hard to say how it will do, because there's another component in this, which is how well you market it. And since it's Google, I think the marketing part is quite secured. But one of the things, and I covered this before too, is that the way the reason why ChatGPT got 100 million users in like 5 days or whatever it got is because and it's not I'm not saying it's nothing new, but you could have achieved somewhat the same results using normal GPT-3. And there's big asterisk on my statement, so take it with a grain of salt. But it was already there. But the way how OpenAI deployed it, the UI UX and everything, and how they marketed it, is a big thing. So I think it's too early to say anything about Bard. But personally, and this is just my opinion and like not affiliated to anyone, I'm not sure if Bard will be able to. It's more of a game of, two big giants. So it's like dethroning one giant and getting on its spot, and Google knows a good deal about that. So I so far I don't have a lot of hopes with Bard, but let's see.
Okay. I guess I guess Chat GPT do stop after 1 hour of use. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
so,
true.
so they have now rolled out a plus version, which is like a paid version. It's about $20 a month. So now it doesn't actually stop after 1 hour. It depends that, when there is more availability, and if you're a free user, they just cut your access. When there is like less availability, so they just cut your access. That's why it stops working after 1 hour. But I've certainly used it for 3 hours at stretch, like a few days ago. So I think that's not a true statement.
And I guess we have a thanks from Otakara for the paper. We are going to take up more questions as we move forward in the podcast. So I guess an out of context question for you: how things have started, like how things have been to you when you actually started in ML?
Okay, so I didn't like, unlike most people, when I completed my 10 plus 2. So after I graduated from 12th board, I had these like few 3 4 months free in my hand before I started college. And so initially I just wanted to like, so I was more of a I want to make a lot of money soon mindset. So I was like, okay, let's just learn web development because that's what 18-year-old Tanay thought was the best choice. So I learned WebD and a lot of things. I did this and that. But one day I just saw this video by a YouTuber, and he was basically teaching Mario to play itself using genetic algorithms. And in a few iterations, like in a few generations, as they call it in genetic algorithm, it learned to play better than a human. It played like a god in simple words. So that got me really interested. So like that's how I started. And my starting was just like with like how most people start in machine learning through Andrew Ang's courses on Coursera, the machine learning course and the deep learning specialization. And yeah, ever since then I've been making projects and competing on Kaggle and so on.
I guess even the point you said about Super Mario, even I have seen that Chrome dinosaur game when actually
Yes.
pops up when you have no internet and one of the users on YouTube is actually making something that the game was playing by itself. So the dinosaur was never losing. So that was actually something unique to see. Gaurav, I'm going to take this question at the last because we need to get in the flow with the podcast. If you like, this is a question from Faruqi: how to make a mini chat GPT from scratch?
Okay, so so ChatGPT is like a GPT model. So you can read the GPT. I think GPT-1, GPT. So you can read GPT-1 paper, GPT-2 paper. You can implement it. The problem is not making it. The problem is training it, because first of all you need to get your hands on so much data, which you can. Let's just say, but then you need a lot of resources to train. So I think there was one estimate which said that, and it's unclear, it's like not official because OpenAI never disclosed the actual numbers, but it says that OpenAI used, I'm not sure, 1,024 NVIDIA A100 GPUs for like 2 months or so to train GPT-3, and that's just GPT-3. We don't even know about Chat GPT. So I think you need a lot of money. So your concern should be how to make a lot of money to train Chat GPT rather than making it from scratch.
Makes total sense. We can move to the next question before we move on to the set of next question from the audience. Now, open source is something which has been boom from the last certain years. People are exploring in open source. There are tons of open source programs such as MLH Fellowship. Then we have Google Summer of Code. So, how do you see machine learning and open source like a combination?
So I have been like active in open source machine learning for about 1.5 year now, and I have given a talk on this topic previously too, on how you can do open source machine learning. And I think that's a place where a lot of people haven't explored much, because open source machine learning is sort of this very non-niche place. It's somewhere between open source and somewhere between machine learning. So you certainly need software engineering skills in order to do open source, like open source contribution to machine learning projects. But you also need a lot of residual knowledge for machine learning. You don't obviously need a PhD. I don't have a PhD, but you can at least you need some working knowledge. So there are a lot of great projects, and since the fact and I think there are more opportunities in open source machine learning. And I can give you a very simple example. So there is this thing called loss function in machine learning, and it's a very complicated thing, but it basically it checks how good your model is in very simple terms, very layman terms. So whatever model you're training, it checks every once in a while how good your model is in making predictions. So since machine learning field is so like so fluid, there's new research coming in every few weeks or months. There is every once in a while you see a new loss function. So you can just go to any open source machine learning project. You can go to TensorFlow Keras, and you can just you see a new, let's say you see a paper of a new loss function. You're like, okay, I think it's like released, and I shouldn't, like, add it to some project. You can just go there, open a issue that I want to add this, and just add the link. And in most cases, in like 90% of cases, they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Because who doesn't love more functionality in their product? So I think there's a lot more scope of doing good and valuable, most of all, valuable open source contributions to machine learning projects. Because as the variety and as the popularity of GPT and other big models increases, many people are going more into ML. So there is certainly more need for more robust frameworks, or make the existing frameworks more robust and um, more general, more bigger in terms of functionality. So there is like more demand for contributions to open source ML projects.
Well, right, because even I guess open source projects in such times, like people are investing a lot of time, people are want to explore more in open source, and I guess in the upcoming time you can see a lot of projects like might be only working with open source because yep, that's a good way to actually interact with audience too. We are gonna take some more questions here. Can Chat GPT teach us how to learn coding?
um, I think it can, but I don't think you should ask it to teach you. Because end of the day, how I would like to think about ChatGPT and how a lot of people think is that these models practically hallucinate an output. So it's like a dictionary if you have used Python, or hash map. It's a big hash map, and some values it knows a lot, some values it, you can say, thinks. So I don't think it's a place where you should learn coding. For that, you should refer to a book or a good course. Yes, you can ask it to do something. So let's say you have a good sentence, you can ask it to rephrase the sentence. That part ChatGPT can do exceptionally well. But asking it to deliver you critical information like knowledge or facts is not a good idea.
Okay, we do have a big question now. During a talk, Sam Altman said he expects there to be a lot of third party companies that utilize LLMs and that they will be valued the most. What are your thoughts on the direction of ML and the industry?
I think he's definitely right, and a lot of companies are actually using, and they're delivering good, valuable products using LLMs. So of course, this is a very understood thing that not every company in the world can train their own LLM, large language model. It's just impractical, and quite frankly, it's a waste of resources. So let's say OpenAI or some other big company like Meta AI Research or Google just trains a bigger model than ChatGPT, and they puts it, or not ChatGPT but GPT or an LLM in general, and they make it open source, or they give an API access to it. I think most companies will utilize that. So like smaller level businesses and stuff like that. And yeah, this is definitely something that's going to expand more in the coming years. Like this is those sort of places where you are like, okay, I can see this thing becoming a huge hit in 3-4 years. And yeah, that's about it.
I am really enjoying how this conversation is actually happening up. Okay, what's the difference between training the GPT model and a copy of Chat GPT?
So again, ChatGPT from the very definition is trained on top of an existing GPT 3.5 model. We don't know which one because OpenAI never disclosed it, but there are like a few ones. There is DaVinci 03, there is DaVinci 02 or whatever they are named. So so I think the training part of both of them will be in general mostly same. ChatGPT will be, I think, trained, or I don't know, fine tuned, I'm not 100% sure on, with slightly different with slightly different ways. But there is this very awesome video from Andre Karpati, who had his PhD from Stanford, and he also taught a really great computer vision course at Stanford. It's, I think, CS231N. So Andre Karpati has, and I'll share the name. Wait, I think I should share the video link here. So he actually shows how you can build your own GPT from scratch, like not the big GPT, but like a very small minor version. And he actually shows how you can generate text using it. So let me just share with him. Yeah, okay. So this is the link. Let me share with him, and he can share with you all. And it's a really great video. I think it's 2 hours or so long, and it's about 2 hours long. And he actually codes an entire little GPT from scratch in Python, and he explains it very wonderfully, more than I can ever explain. So I think you should definitely give this a watch.
Definitely a good resource to share. The next question is almost similar what I wanted to ask Tane. I'll ask the question, and then I'll discuss this thing. Uh, what would be your tips and advice for practitioners in the field of machine learning or the people who are starting in? That is similar, like if you can share some resource to participate in open source as an ML person.
So so let me answer the first question. To get started in machine learning, I think Andrew Ang's courses on Coursera are like the best. One of the things that people should avoid is try to cover out the maths for too long. Mathematics is essentially important. I'm not going to lie, but don't waste like months just learning maths unless you have like zero experience in calculus and linear algebra. Just make sure you know the basics. Just make sure you can solve basic problems, and that's enough. About machine learning, I think you shouldn't be stuck doing courses for too long. I personally, and this is my personal opinion again, I don't like these other courses that LLM course, zero to hero or something I saw on Udemy the other day. I don't know, that's all fugazi. I don't believe in all that. Just stick to the basics, stick to the good courses. Stanford University has a bunch of great playlists on computer vision, natural language processing, reinforcement learning, and stuff like that. Watch them, take notes, understand everything, ask doubt, and then just pick a data set and get your hands dirty as soon as possible. And that's like the best thing that you should do is work with the data. As Andre Karpathy said in one of his blogs about how to train good neural networks, you need to be one with the data. So you need to become one with the data in order to train good neural networks and become a good ML engineer. And so, yeah, and about the second part, which is how to participate in open source as an ML person. So if you're already an ML person and you have some idea, you can go to some of these. Um, and I actually gave a 1.5 hour talk on this specific topic, so I don't think I can like do the justice in 5 minutes on this question. But in general, TLDR version is that um, first there are like two types of contributions. Either you, and this is like normal open source, you go to some repository, let's say you go to PyTorch, and you see an issue, and you know the deal, right? Good first issue, good second issue. You go there, you make a PR, you solve it. That's always the way to go, even in ML. The other way is, let's say you saw a new model, right? Let's say you saw a new language model and you wanted to, you want, and it's open source and you want it in Hugging Face Transformers, which is a big library which has a lot of language models. So you can go there, open a PR, and that, hey, I want to implement this model. Its weights are available, free, like open source. And in most cases, if they think that's a good contribution, they'll like, yeah, go ahead. They're very helpful, and that's just one example. So it depends. If you go to Keras CV, which is Keras Computer Vision, like a little framework, I haven't explored it much, and you find some good image augmentation method, you can go there, ask them that you want to implement, and they'll help you. So this is very asymmetric in the sense that you have to figure your own way out, but I can definitely tell you, you don't need a very deep experience in ML to get started.
Okay, moving on to the next question. What working knowledge would you expect from an ML open source contributor in terms of academic courses and external learning slash practice?
Again, I would like to reiterate, there is no like specific pointer or check mark of how much you should know before you get started. And a lot of people who are beginners think like, there are like specific scales that, hey, if you've done 50 courses, you'll be able to do it. There's nothing like that. If you have basic understanding, and I'm giving a very general rule of thumb, like you have basic software engineering skills, and by that I don't mean job, like basic stuff like, okay, inheritance, encapsulation, object oriented programming, basic data structure knowledge, and stuff like that, algorithm understanding and all that. Along with that, if you know all the basic algorithms in machine learning, deep learning, how deep learning works, what is backpropagation and stuff like that, what are RNNs, how does attention or transformers work, that should be more than enough to get you, into like the contribution zone. After that, it is the need to know basis. So if you're implementing a paper or a model from a paper, you should understand the model very well. So it depends on the model. So it's on a need to know basis for the most part.
Okay, there is one question which actually was thinking in my mind. So there are a lot of students who might be in their second year or first year who get excited about learning about something new about machine learning, but there might be some people who just say that machine learning is tough and it's very tough to get started with. So what could be a good piece of advice from you to all the people who are just starting up in machine learning, and the thing that she should actually take care of while actually entering in this field?
So Definitely never underestimate both mathematics and data structures. By data structures I mean basic DSA, second level, second year level DSA, like that you learn linked list, binary trees and all that. And most important of all, mathematics. So there is like a fine line between doing too much of it and doing too little of it. In general, you need to know like basics of matrix, determinants and all that, eigenvector, eigenvalue, whatever is covered in most engineering courses in India in their second year is more than enough to get started in machine learning, probability, statistics, basics. So you can, so there are like really great courses called maths for machine learning from many colleges. There is one specialization on Coursera from Imperial College London. There is one from deeplearning.ai. So you need maths definitely to get started. And most people who get started in ML and they're like, hey, it doesn't make sense to me, it's because their mathematical foundations are weak. If you know your maths well, and I'm not saying a graduate level maths, I'm saying basic 12th standard or maybe like first year maths, if you know it, understand it well, it doesn't matter if you can solve all your questions or not. It's irrelevant. If you understand the concepts well, you should be able to understand machine learning. It's just mathematics that you do in Python. That's my definition of machine learning. It's just a lot of mathematics that you do in Python.
I guess I have heard this definition for the first time, but can relate mathematics with an addition of Python. One more thing, I guess that might be out of context, but what goes in a day-to-day life of an ML engineer?
So I guess that's this is a very hard question, because since this field is so new and diverse and less standard, it depends on company to company. So for example, if I ask a software engineer, most of them will say, okay, I have a Jira board, I open a ticket, I close a ticket and all that. It's the same definition. Personally, I'm given a task or a project, I complete it, I get the results, I iterate to my superior, and he or she gives me suggestions, and I go back and do it. So, in any ML engineer role, even if you're deploying a model, there's a lot of research component involved. So, by research, I don't mean you have to sit in lab coats, big glasses, 50 books open. But research is like, since this field is so new, and neural networks have a reputation of being called black boxes, so you never really know how a neural network learns. Even a simple two-layer neural network, we really don't have a lot of idea how it learns things, right? Like we know the procedure, that's how we make it learn. So this is the reason why it's a lot about, I don't want to use the word luck, but it's a lot about trial and error, right? Finding out. So if you're a Java engineer and you want to make an app, right, you have to define an applet and implement it. There's no rocket science in it. You already know somewhat what you have to do. Here there's a lot of and this is what causes real excitement. This is what gives you the kick, is that you don't know what you're going to find out next. It might work, it might give you a result that you have never expected, and that's why it's interesting and a bit venture into the unknown at the same time.
I guess such words are actually motivating me to move into ML. But never mind, folks. We are actually heading to end of this wonderful conversation. If you have any more doubts, just let us know. I'll be happy to ask Tane. But before we close out, Tane, like the final thoughts you want to give audience. I guess I know a lot of people will be listening after the completion of after this podcast. But yep, a lot of conversations have happened around Chat GPT, AI, ML, how it is actually empowering people and also making people working less in industry because people are using Chat GPT to make their work easier. So, what should your final overtake for that?
So I think definitely, and don't rely too much on ChatGPT for your coding work. Even for great engineers, like established engineers in jobs, like like you're a great engineer, you're like, okay, I can now use ChatGPT. I don't need. I'm not a beginner that I shouldn't. I think you should only use it when and if required very much. So your low on time and all that, use it then. Don't use it every time, because it will only weaken your ability. I did that for 3 or so months, and this is like last year when there was this model by GitHub called Codex, which is especially written for there's this extension called GitHub Copilot. I used it for a long time, and at first I thought it was doing good, but it was actually making me weaker as a programmer. So I think the best thing you can do, since most of your students, is that don't use AI models for your coding work and assignments. Do it by yourself. That's how you become able to make a model in the future. If you use these right now, you won't be able to make one in the future. That's a very simple analogy. And other than that, if you are getting started in ML, just don't like look at all these. I don't want to name names or anything, but don't look at all these crazy videos saying ML is irrelevant, outdated data. Don't do data science. You need PhD. You certainly don't need a PhD to be good. You just need to think out of the box and grab at opportunities. I'm not going to say it's same to SDE positions because they have been here for a long time now. But yeah, if you're smart enough to carve your own way and do networking and all that, you can definitely get a great job and make a good career without needing a higher degree.
Okay, I guess might be an out of the context question, but do companies ask DSA for ML engineers?
Some do. Actually, big companies have one or two lead code rounds. I'm not sure Google or thing, but yeah, I think Google asks for one or two lead code rounds for an applied scientist role, but it's less than SDE where you're like five, six, competitive coding DSA rounds. But yeah, DSA is needed because you're end of the day you are an ML engineer, so you do need DSA uh, knowledge.
I'll just take a minute here to help Gaurav. Gaurav, for fellowship program, you can do certain things. There will be streams available on MLH Twitch and YouTube. Major League Hacking. You can go through that and check for the program, like the projects you can make. And one more thing you can do, you can create a ticket on Discord. Someone from the team at MLH will be actually making sure that they answer your queries. So, yep, you can do that. Yep, Faruqi says PSG thing is real, really demoted me in the start.
Yeah, that's
So
the
I
same
hope
thing, a lot of
this
same thing. But don't get into the hype train. Just do your work, be diligent. Work will pay off.
I hope this stream actually helps you to. Okay. So one more question: why Chat GPT is not connected to the internet and current data?
So there are two things to this, two part of this question. I will go with the current data one first. The thing about GPT or a model like Chat GPT is that it has been trained till the data of, I think the free version is trained till the date of 2021. Even it says that my date cutoff is 2021. So this is because since these models take a lot of time to train or retrain, you can't just train a model in 1 month. And you're seeing like historical events happening every single month for the last 2 years. There's a pandemic, there's a war, there's like 50 different things. So they can't keep training the model. So that's the data part because it has been trained once and they can't retrain it again. But I think they've retrained it recently. Now the question why it is not connected to internet. So I think if you use Bing's AI powered search, many people are using the test beta. It is connected to internet. GPT isn't. So the reason why GPT isn't is like a private decision by OpenAI. So I'm not sure if it can, but I think it's more of a corporate decision by OpenAI, not something related to technical part of it.
I guess that sums up to the end of the stream. Again, Gaurav, you can create a ticket in the Discord, and someone from the team will be happy to ping you. But with that, I really want to thank Tane to take time out on a Sunday, that too in an afternoon, because obviously you have certain work, like you have work during the whole week, and then you get some rest on Sunday. But I just want to share this because before we end this, I just pinged Tane like before yesterday, and he was super excited that he want to share the insights from his side, and I really want to thank him to be here. I know a lot of people might be too much conveyed, like, and might be so much inspired if they want to start an ML and all the things we have discussed about Chat GPT. So thank you so much, Tane, for that. And with that, if you want to just end on with the final words before we end the stream.
So I guess my final words is the same as Nike's logo, is that just do it. Don't think, just do it.
Yep, perfect. With that, thanks Faruqi. With that, I'm just gonna end the stream. Folks, I'm gonna see you at another Global Hack Week stream. Till then, make sure you don't forget to follow Serious Mehta at Twitter and IG at Twitter. You can always find him if you have any doubts. Make sure you prepare a small message, proper message, and ping him. I know he will definitely answer as in the same way he did to mine. So you can just ping him on socials, and that would be good. With that, I'll just take all your leave. Bye, folks. Take care, and yep.
Bye bye, everyone.